You know, I usually don't ask a question that's very simple, which is how did you get this part? But I think in the case of a actress like you and a part like this, where it's playing young Emily Dickinson, a part that will then be played by Grammy, Emmy, and Tony winner Cynthia Nixon, I would imagine a lot of young actors really wanted this. How did you go about testing for it, reading for it?
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. It was sort of a dream audition. To even just go in for something to potentially play Emily Dickinson was just beyond my scope of understanding. But I went in, and Terrence obviously comes from England, and so he had picked the Standard Hotel on the Sunset Strip as the audition place, which I thought was a very bizarre place to be auditioning for Emily Dickinson. But, I go, and I was very, very nervous. And I walked into the lobby, and I immediately beelined for the lobby restrooms because I was like, I just need to like chill out, be a little, calm before I go into this audition. And I'm waiting in line, and this man, kind of British man's like pushing in front of me, and I was like, "Excuse me, sir. I don't know what they do in your country, but in this country, we wait for ladies to use the restroom." And then I walked into the bathroom.
Oh, no.
And I like grouped myself, and I fixed myself, and I walk out, and I sign in, and the door opens, and it's Terrence, and he was the man that I had just given lip to 30 seconds before, and I was just, my face turned the color of the lovely curtains behind me, I'm pretty sure, and I just had to recite Emily Dickinson poems for the audition, basically, and also do one of the scenes that Cynthia gets, one of the where she hits the plate, and she's like, "It's clean, it's dirty no longer." I love that. But I had to launch into that, just so humiliated. But I guess I did a good enough job because Terrence, I think, in a way, me being like that spoke to him a little bit as to Emily, because she was quite, she had a little bit of a sense of snark about her. So I think in a weird way, being rude to the director finally worked out.
One thing that struck me in some of the early scenes, I'm trying to remember exactly how this comes through. I think it was in an opera, when you're watching the opera, and then also when we learn about Emily first being interested in poetry, there are men who just have no regard for the fact that women should be doing these things, can actually do these things. What was that like to learn about those kind of attitudes that I'm sure were fairly pervasive in this time period?
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie is a deep exploration into that. I mean, so much of Emily's, how she carried herself through her world, or alternatively, how she kind of stepped away from the world, is because of that, in large part, I think. Women were definitely not considered to be equals in outside of the home, and yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun to be able to play a woman who is just not of her time, and be able to have the wealth of vocabulary that those people had to, effectively, shoot little barbs at people, just using their intelligence to really rise above these men or women who had thoughts that women shouldn't be, outside of the house, and outside of being docile or quiet. That was just really fun for me. I mean, yeah, I just got to roll my eyes at men and say snarky things, but like as if I was Emily. It was very fun.
What, if anything, were you and Terrence and Cynthia able to do to help with the fact that this is a tandem performance? I don't know if you shot before she did. Were you able to watch her, talk to her, see any of her footage? How did that work?
Yeah, it was a really tight schedule. It was a truly independent film, so there wasn't the luxury of time. I actually shot all of my footage before Cynthia arrived. So we didn't have a lot of overlapping time, unfortunately. But I will say,
Did you talk to her at all before you started filming?
Yeah, we chatted a few times. She's a very busy lady, so she was coming from, I think, one Broadway show, or something like that. So she kind of landed, and we had a couple days overlap. Actually, the day that overlapped was where it goes from me to her in the photo.
I mean,
Isn't that so
wanna
cool?
ask you about that.
That was a very cool technical day. But anyway, so that was the day we sort of met in that moment, which is kind of cool, actually.
the baton,
Yeah, it was very much so. And I still had a few days left, and she was very gracious. And we would chat, but also Terrence was our through line, and Terrence was sort of our sounding board. And it didn't even necessarily. I mean, I love to talk to people if I'm portraying them as a younger version of them or what have you, or if we're sharing a character in any way. And I know that Cynthia feels the same way, but given the time constraints, we really relied on Terrence, and he obviously knows this world back and forth and was able to point us in the right direction.
Well, I congratulate you. I hope you all enjoyed the film. Emma Bell,
so much.
ladies and gentlemen.